Why I came back out here with these same freaking bees, I don't even understand. I don't know, and I think it's dumb. Don't make the same mistake twice. That's stupid. All right. Today, guys, I'm out here. I look like a straight bum. Like, it's like one of those days. Like, it's not fly day. I have on no makeup, but I'm outside, and I keep coming outside because I've been trying to spend more time, like, in the sun. This is a really shady area, not only because of these bees. They were not over here when I just walked over here. Now, they're here. Maybe it's my scent. I don't know. So, but yeah, I've been trying to spend more time in the sun. Like, you know, even though I'm wearing a hat now, I do get sunburned. It's the weirdest thing. I stay in the sun though, so, but I can't do it for long. So I was walking, I took my hat off here and there sometimes, whatever, but it ain't gonna be like too much because you got me bent. I should have brought a knife. Freak a league. So this video today is about why I quit my job. So I was working for a long time. Oh gosh. For a long time, I've been working in the restaurant industry, hospitality or whatever. I did a lot of restaurant customer service. I was a customer service coordinator at Marshall's at like 18. You know, I was a customer service manager at Marshall's at like 18. I was in the restaurant industry then after that. So I started off at like Quiznos and I became like the best sandwich maker in life. Then I went on to the restaurants as a server and then bartender. So even when I started to become a hairstylist, I still will work in the restaurant industry because it is just such quick money. But let me go throw these in the trash. So went into the restaurant industry, started working as a server, bartender. It was a good experience. Like, one thing I did learn in the restaurant industry is how to talk to people. Customer service is like super big to me. It's super important. So even when I became a hairstylist, that was easy for me. Like, how to talk to people, how to get my point across, how to understand, listen with intent. So it was really good. So the last job I worked at was called Bar One here in Charlotte. Not Peter Thomas Bar One. This is Bar One at Phillips Place, so it's not as known as Bar One. The bee just got eye level to me and told me to leave. So it's Peter Thomas. So it wasn't Peter Thomas. It was another Bar One. And it was probably, the money was really good. Well, it was really good for, I was a morning bartender making almost $50,000 a year plus because, you know, tips and stuff. And at this job, I was the morning bartender. I pretty much opened the bar. I actually did really open the bar. Even though I came 3 months after the bar, you know, opened, it still wasn't established. So when I came was when people like weren't even coming in the mornings. So I had a lot of time to like restructure things, to like start things, like to get systems in place and stuff like that. And the owner there just like, he wouldn't say anything at first. He was really quiet because there was a bar manager. So she understood, you know, what I was bringing into the situation. So then the owner stepped up as the bar manager. But so for me, it was like he would act like he liked me as long as like I was down to flirt with him and have like, you know, just be having, you know, those raunchy conversations and stuff like that. And so if you know my other stories, you know that the end of 2021 was when I went into my healing phase. So I started this job towards the end of 2021. So it was like September of 2021. So I was still in like a phase of like people pleasing and stuff like that. Even if I was uncomfortable with something, I would like do it just because I thought that that was what was going to keep me my job. I was so used to people always like something always coming about, like being the reason like I lose my job for something so stupid. So I developed this habit of like people pleasing and just going with the flow, no matter if it was disrespectful or whatever, because if I ever stood up for myself, I was always wrong, and then they could always just fire me. And so I really just got tired of that. So, you know, it got to a point where I was working, whatever, in the morning. And so because I guess he worked all day, so he would always like want me to work doubles. No one else had to work these doubles. At first, I wanted to work the doubles because I'm like, I want to stack this bread. Okay, cool. But then it just became like, you have to do it. It just got to a point where this man was really just taking advantage of me. Then I found out so many things were just being said and plotted against me, and just a whole bunch of stuff that was just starting to happen while I was there. And the crazy thing is that I started to ask God to show me who these people are. And so that's ultimately, I have dry bananas. I'm like eating. So that's ultimately why he started to show me who they were. I asked him to, because, you know, if you want to know people's real intentions, just ask God. If you want to know how people really feel, just ask him. He will show you. He will let their intentions be very known. So I did that, and I was going, like I said, I was going through my healing process, going through my process of getting closer to God. So I was like, God, show me who these people are. I started to find out so much. I started to find out, like, nobody liked me. Like, I worked so hard. I was so skinny because I was so stressed out. It wasn't because I, like, worked out. I mean, I started working out when I was skinny because I'm like, hey, I like being skinny. But, I mean, it wasn't a good skinny. Like, my skin was, like, flabby. Like, it was, like, not good. And, I mean, now, like, that girl got that. So I usually would stay at jobs like this. Like when I would find stuff out like that, I would usually stay until I get fired. And I would usually, you know, just go with the flow, like I said. But this time I started to push back. I started to really just say, you know what? Like, I'm not dealing with this anymore. And you don't treat anyone else like this. I worked the freaking hardest. Okay, like even all the managers started to turn on me, and it was because of the fact that I started, well, before I even knew, they were already like, you know, plotting and stuff and whatever and talking about me, whatever. But when I started to push back and not accept the bullcrap anymore, they started to just not like me. I'm so happy I have this in here. Baby, you can get these hands, know what I'm saying? Because that's what really, like, the place that I started to get into was like, I'm not about to take this no more. Not only am I not going to take it in my personal life, I'm not taking this in my work life either. Like, who do you think you are? Like, you are human just like me. But so, yeah, and it was just crazy. And he like offered me a raise. And so this is when I started to come into my first awakening. And so we sat there and he was like, oh, I'm gonna give you a raise or whatever. So I was like, that's cool. And he was like, you're the first person I know that is not happy about a raise. I'm like, because, goofy, I ain't here for that. I mean, of course I want a raise, but that's not, I want respect. I want to feel like I'm actually welcomed, and I've been here the longest. I don't want to feel like y'all are actually racist. One day, I was like, you know what? Okay. My whole energy shifted. And I started to really focus on myself. And I'm like, baby, okay, I don't really see this lasting too long. So one day he pulls me outside because again, he read my energy very well. Because I was always like super upbeat, always like, you know, high energy. And then I just stopped caring. Because I'm like, if you don't care, I don't care. Like, what do you mean? Like, whatever. If y'all trying to, you know, plot to get me out of here anyway, let me help you, bro. Long story short, so then one day he takes me outside and he's like, oh, well, I was like, well, I feel like I should have already been bar manager, but for some reason that hasn't happened. And he's like, I didn't know you wanted that. I've already been that. I'm already that. So I was like, yeah, I want to have my own. I want to start my own business. I want to do things with my life. And so he was like, well, you know what you got to do? You got to stack your money. And my car is like not the best car. Like I don't have a car note. So I'm good with that. So my car is like a little older. And he would always say like, your car is trash and you need to like save your money. But he didn't know I was. Like, just because I don't go out and buy new cars and buy new, like, I'm not one of those. Like, I like to stack my money. I like to make sure I can do the things that I want to do, that I need to do. If a car comes and it aligns, and it will, and it is. But when that happens, it'll happen. But that's not what my priority was at this point. I had a goal. And so I was like, well, I want to start my own business. I want to do these things. And he was like, well, yeah, your car is trash. You need to save your money and you need to do this or whatever. Eat shit was his words. He's like, you need to eat shit, save your money, and then it'll all happen. So this was probably like July, beginning of July, end of June or something like that. So this was like early July. So the end of July, so I ended up getting COVID like mid-July. Like beginning to mid-July, and when she even got mad about that, that was crazy. Like when I needed the time off, because when I started getting sick like on a Sunday. When I came back on Wednesday to take my COVID test, it was positive. I didn't come back to take it, but they were like, just take it just to see, and I ended up having COVID. So then that following Sunday, it was still reading positive. So he's like, I've never known a COVID to take this long or whatever. Now, mind you, he had people out weekly for being sick. He would even let people be out if they didn't feel like coming in and have me cover them. But you can't have nobody cover me. And I'm really sick. You know I am. I took the test here. And so he ended up like getting an attitude and like taking me off work all the rest of the week, except for like Friday or something. So the next, I think like that Sunday, or it was like Saturday. So that Sunday I took another test and it was negative. So I'm like, well, I'm going to Miami. So I went to Miami and I realized like, you know what? Like I want a different life. I don't want to live this kind of life no more. Like this ain't for me. Like constantly working these jobs and almost getting fired for working hard and just doing maybe one thing that somebody doesn't like, or speaking up for myself, or even speaking up for the integrity of the business with those lazy employees, and then they go back to the owner saying, oh, she talked to me a certain way, instead of saying, well, she talked to me a certain way because I was actually not doing my job. It was like, oh, well, she's so mean and all that. And he would just always angry black woman me. And I hated that. So when I went to Miami, I came back, worked that Friday, went back to Miami that weekend, and I think we were like off or something that Monday. Something was going on to the point where I actually didn't have to work that Monday. So I was off, and then came back. So this was the end of July. So then I got like strep throat. So at this point, I'm like, I ain't never been this sick. So at this point, I realized like my health is clearly at risk. Like, so I went to the doctor, found I had strep throat. I healed it naturally, but I realized like I'm getting sick, bro. Like I'm getting sick here. I'm like really like losing myself, like working for this place. And I realized like how many times like that would actually really happen. And so I'm like, absolutely not. Like, I'm no longer about to put myself, my health, dang, that sun really came out, ain't it? I'm not about to put any more of that at risk. I'm not about to keep on trying to fight for myself, trying to stand up for myself, and I'm constantly being made wrong for doing so. And I'm getting sick. I was so skinny, like, like 125 skinny, but it wasn't healthy. It was like stress. So I decided one day when my strep throat was getting a little bit better, and I decided, it was like the end of August by this time, and I actually because I had been out so much. I mean, I had a good amount of money like saved up, but it wasn't like what it was, but it was still like a good amount. And I decided I quit. Like, I literally put in my, and I did it the right way. I put in my 2-week notice, and I decided to go on my journey. And, you know, he actually got really spiteful. He took me off the schedule not that week, but then the following week. And I just was like, I'm just not going to come in. Like, you're not about to keep on playing me. Like, you just want one more up on me. Because he was very much narcissistic. And I was done with it. And so I was like, you want one more up on me? I'm good on that. So I quit, and I took that time, which was like the beginning of September to now. But I took that time, really that fall to winter. You know, I mean, it's still winter, but I mean, we're in North Carolina, you can't really tell. But so I took that time, definitely from September, October, November. I started my business in October, but I was trying to, you know, get on Instagram, do what I needed to do and stuff like that, and things just weren't really working out. Even when I tried to move to Miami, things were not working out. Like, I wasn't getting approved for the apartments that I wanted. I was only getting approved for like places that just were not good. I started losing views on Instagram. Like, it was just like a whole thing. And I realized that was the time that God really wanted me to really spend with him. Because what I just realized this month in February is that I just started to come out of depression. And I didn't realize this whole time that I was depressed. I would constantly be crying. I mean, the only person I really talked to was my mom. And I think she kind of could tell. I'm about to get emotional because it's like, it's really crazy when you realize like how depressed people really can be trying to make a living and trying to really like, you know, just be a part of this world. And especially when you really don't fit in. And it was crazy because that whole time, yes, I'm starting a business, you know, yes, and I'm healing from a codependency issue because I was very codependent. So then even some other man came along and tried to do the same thing to me, and he was from a church. That's a whole nother story. And so I realized like that's what God wanted. He wanted, and I was like, nothing is working out. Like, I expected for me to start my business and to just take off. I expected for, you know, me to get all these different clients. So I do embellishment. That's what I do. I'm creative by choice. I do rhinestone work, embellishment, you know, pictures. I do, vases, I embellish everything from combs to kitchenware to all things in your house. Like, I can literally do all of that. So that's actually what my business is, custom rhinestone work. And I'm moving into fashion also. So I'm like, you know, it's all growing. And I realized that that's really what God wanted for me to do, was to really start my business, but to really get close to him. And obviously, he knew more of where my state of mind was and state of being was, because I was absolutely depressed. And this month in February is when I'm really realizing that I was. And so, I mean, and also in that time, like, I lost so many friends. And just from September to now, people I thought were really cool with me, and like we really had a real friendship, did me so dirty. I had men come into my life, try to take advantage of me, like sexually. I had so many things just kept happening. And on top of that, my business isn't quite doing what I wanted to, even though it was so soon. So it's like, how is that going to even happen, girl? But I mean, it can. And it will, but just in that time, I think God just wanted me to move forward in the direction, just to prove to myself, like, yeah, you can do it. Focus on something else for yourself. But with me not working and starting my business and having to have faith in God was really what got me out of my depression. And it's like he just kept drawing me closer to him and drawing me closer and drawing me closer. And it is crazy how it really happens like that, and how you don't even realize like why everything is taking place the way it does. And it's not that he's like wanting to hurt you or wanting you to go through things so that you can, be depressed. But I was already depressed. Even when I was working, I would literally work, come home, smoke, and go to sleep. I would do nothing else and watch YouTube. That's all I did. If you go back on my YouTube, I was doing a whole hair thing that I just couldn't stay consistent with because I just didn't feel like it. Like, I didn't want to. And it's just crazy, like, how you just don't know. And with every single day, he constantly was there. So that's why, like, now, like, I just thank him for the fact that he did bring me out of it. He showed me why I needed to get out of it. Because like I said, usually I stay until it's just too much. But this time, and I usually get fired, but this time I kept my integrity and I was able to leave and to tell them, like, you know what? No, I'm not taking this no more. Like, I have to do this for me. I have to stand up for me because nobody else will unless I do it, and I had to start that cycle of putting me first. And I always say putting yourself first is really what brings you closer to God, to the Most High, because he resides in you. And you putting you first, you loving yourself, you saying, you know what, enough is enough. It doesn't mean you have to go start a business or even quit a job. But even if that's what I'm not telling nobody to quit a job if that's not what you can do. But even at the point when I did it, I didn't know how I was going. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to trust God. Like, and I was so ready to do that. But then what happened along the journey from like September, I started to waver in my trust. So then I had to learn a whole new thing. Like, now you got to trust him when you don't have no money coming in. Now you got to trust him when you don't know what's coming next. Now you have to learn this whole new thing. And with that, I'm telling you, he really, I got out of depression, and it was bad. I was depressed, and it's so crazy. It's so crazy, man. And I would constantly like put on this good face, and constantly like, if you look on my Instagram, like, you wouldn't be able to tell, but right after I would do a lot of those videos, I would just go lay down. Because I was chasing something on Instagram. I'm like, okay, well, I know that, I can go viral or whatever. I'm going to, because I was getting so many views, but then that stopped. And then it was just like, wow. Like, so then that depressed me. And then I just realized, like, give it to God. Give everything to God. Like, and just find that trust in him, and just find that love for yourself, and everything will work out. It will look a little crazy, but it will work out. And so that's really why I quit my job. It's really nothing more to it. It wasn't anything like, oh, I had this vision. Although I've had many visions of what Creative by Choice will be. So now I'm just walking in that and walking in alignment with that. And that's just it. Like, I had to start somewhere, and I had to heal myself. Not just my outside self and not just my physical fleshly being, but my spirit, mind, and soul. Maybe one day I'll talk about, depression. I don't know if I'm like, because I almost cried like 50 times just now. But it was pretty deep. But I thank God for the experience, not of depression, but just this whole process. And they always say, like, don't move too fast on your journey, and don't forget to pay attention to the small things. And I'm not saying that depression was something I need to pay attention to, but just the fact that in that moment was when I was actually able to draw closer to God and to really understand who he is. And I'm like spitting it in, and the power of him and what he really is capable of. And when you come out, it's almost like you get to look back and be like, who is that person? Like, who am I now? Like, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know. But I'm excited to see who this new person is. And I can't wait, you know, and like I said, I thank God, and I'm just excited. So yeah, that's really why I quit my job. I encourage anybody out there that sees this video who it gets to put yourself first. We're living in a world where it's so many of these younger people really showing us like, you can do that. You can really make success and successful moves putting yourself first. It's time out for everybody telling us how we need to live, how we need to do it, how we need to dress, how we need to wear this and that. Like, what do you want? And that's all that matters. So yeah, guys, I'm not gonna keep you too long. I mean, I keep saying that, but yeah, hopefully this helps someone. If you guys can like and share this video so they can get to somebody. If you know someone that's going through depression, you think if they're not really talking as much, they're not really trying to hang out as much, if they're, you know, when you talk to them, they're not as upbeat as they usually are, be there for them. And being there for them is sometimes giving them their space too. Let them come out of it. And when you realize that they are coming back out and coming to themselves, don't hold that against them. You know, and that's just all I can say. Like, just be there. Because you just never really know what people are going through. And so many people take it so personal when you can't get to them when they want you to. Or when you can't be there for them. And it's like, I need someone. And sometimes all we have is God. So, and sometimes the people around us can't be there. You know, so, but yeah, and sometimes like that's just what it is. So, I know I look a mess today. But yeah, so just be there for those people. Love those people. Love yourselves. Put yourselves first. So that way, I mean, finding true love in yourself is how you can really learn how to love anybody else. So, with that being said, guys, thank you so much if you made it this far. If not, but if you did, thank you so much. And I love all of you. I pray anybody out of depression, I pray anybody can find themselves and really learn who they really are. Like, it's time to like take over the world in a whole new way. And we got things to do. We all have missions. We all have a purpose. Let's get on the path of that. And until next time, guys, hello.